Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up tonight.
The Prime Minister breaks his silence on last week's drama in the House of Assembly.
The country marks its 6th police-involved shooting for the year. Stay tuned for the details.
Coming up, the Office of the Attorney General proceeds with its stay application in that John Charles case. That story straight ahead.
Our news is brought to you by Alive, the nation's newest and best LTE network.
Good to be alive.
Welcome to Our News, and thanks for joining us. I'm Kyle Joaquin. Topping news tonight, amid growing questions over whether he is fit to serve as Speaker of the House of Assembly, Houseman Moultrie insisted today that he was impartial last week when he launched a bitter attack on members of the opposition and the former chief clerk during a 40-minute communication. This as the Prime Minister responded to opposition plans to move a no-confidence motion against the Speaker. Jasmine Brown reports.
We can deal
members last week.
We can deal with all of that.
Should he apologize? People have been calling for him to apologize.
We're dealing with all of that on Wednesday. I don't want to preempt you.
Do you support the Speaker?
What do you mean by support the Speaker?
Did you support what he did last week and some of the personal attacks that he made against?
I would reserve that for Wednesday, so I can expand and give complete clarification.
That was the response to just about everything the Prime Minister was asked as he quickly made his way from Parliament to Cabinet Office just moments after the House broke following a sitting that lasted only minutes. Meantime, the House Speaker confirmed in the House today that he will be the subject of a motion of no confidence at the next sitting. Over the weekend, PLP leader Philip Brave Davis said he had written to House of Assembly Acting Chief Clerk David Forbes, indicating that he or another member of the opposition will seek to move a vote of no confidence against the Speaker because they believe he is not fit to hold office.
If I'm returned, I intend to continue to enforce the rules and to be impartial in doing so. I believe that I was impartial in doing so, and I will continue.
Some have called for your apology. Are you minded to apologize at any point?
We'll discuss that on Wednesday. If and when I'm returned on Wednesday, I will deal with all those matters.
Moultrie, who continues to face backlash over his attack in Parliament last week, says not only does he stand by his words, he will address the issue head-on when the House meets on Wednesday.
The official opposition is well within the rules as it relates to that. And so the only thing that I would want to say about that is that the rules are working themselves out in that from the beginning I indicated that I would function according to the rules, and the exercise on Wednesday will be an exercise within the rules, and we'll see what the outcome is.
The opposition's plan to move a no-confidence motion in Moultrie is the latest in the ongoing battle between the Speaker and the opposition after he suspended all 4 opposition members while taking personal jabs at Davis, his wife, and PLP Chairman Fred Mitchell. Over the weekend, Mitchell accused Moultrie of committing a blood libel against him, adding he would seek adequate compensation. Mitchell asserted that Moultrie put enmity between their houses after he accused Davis of taking advice from reprobates and perverts, insisting his name begins with M-O-U, not M-I-T. Moutrie's response.
Well,
What's your response to that?
when Jesus walked the face of the earth, even as the Savior, people said things about him. They call him Beelzebub. So I have no problems. You know, I'm reminded of my grandmother's statement, sticks and stones may break your bones, but words can never hurt you. And so I'm not concerned. All is forgiven. I understand the spirit of which it was done.
Dr. Minnis said he wasn't exactly surprised by the PLP's recent actions as he referenced his own suspension from the House when he was in opposition.
I followed the rules of the House. I was suspended, so I followed the rules of the House.
Are you concerned?
I am a man of law and order.
Are you surprised the PLP is not doing that?
We'll answer that on Wednesday. Nothing surprises me with the PLP, though.
Now everything is expected to be sorted out here on the floor of the House of Assembly on Wednesday. Reporting for Our News, I'm Jasmine Brown.
Thanks, Jasmine. Well, Anglican MP Gladys Hannah-Martin's suspension from Parliament ended today, but she skipped today's sitting as expected. Hannah-Martin showed up at the House of Assembly last week but was denied entry. Minutes later, the entire opposition team was suspended. After meeting for only 10 minutes this morning, Leader of Government Business in the House, Renwood Wells, moved for adjournment until Wednesday so that every member of the opposition could be present. That is when Opposition Leader Philip Brave Davis is expected to move a motion of no confidence in Moultrie.
Given the gravity of what the Leader of the Opposition intends to do on Wednesday, the government is obliged, along with this House, to see to it that all members are here on Wednesday, and that motion is going to take precedence over the entire House agenda as per the House rules. And so we thought it fitting that we would have this Parliament today, we would have our meeting, so that all members would have a right to be here on Wednesday, so that we can get on with the business of this House.
In a statement released this morning, Exuma's and Ragged Island MP Chester Cooper said he and his opposition colleagues, Philip Brave Davis, Gladys Hannah-Martin, and Picewell Forbes, will go to the House together in solidarity on Wednesday and debate the notion with a view to having the Speaker removed. He said it is his hope that this process is not inordinately lengthy and there can be a resolution in short order. In other news, 1 week after a suspect allegedly opened fire on police, dropped the weapon and ran, officers claim they spotted the man this morning and fatally shot him after he pulled a knife on them. This latest police-involved shooting happened near a primary school. Georgia Bain has details.
This schoolyard was the scene of the 6th police-involved shooting for the year, the second one in just 2 days, and police officers say it's just a matter of defending themselves. Assistant Commissioner of Police Clayton Fernandez says officers, acting on information, were looking for a suspect when they spotted him on Wolf Road.
If you could recall, just a little over a week, officers responded to the Homestead Street area where an individual reported that he was shot at by an individual known to him. Officers responded, and after receiving information, went into the Peach Street area where they saw the suspect who ran from them after firing a shot and was able to, he dropped a weapon at that time, which was recovered. From then to now, officers were on high alert to try to find this individual.
Fernandez says the suspect, who appears to be in his 20s, pulled a knife on police officers before he was fatally shot.
Sometime around 6:30 a.m. this morning, acting on information, officers came to this area where they saw the individual who attacked them armed with a knife. Officers, being in fear for their lives, returned fire, and the individual, the suspect, was fatally shot, and he died right here, just behind me. At this present time, Her Majesty Coroner have visited. She was briefed, and the matter now is before her for further investigations.
The shooting happened mere feet away from Columbus Primary School. Fernandez says authorities will be speaking with officials from the Ministry of Education to discuss safety measures in that area.
There's a lot of fence and wall that individuals use to take shortcuts, and we have had a number of matters in the schoolyard of armed robbery where persons are going to work and use this as a shortcut, and they are held up and robbed. This is a known area for incidents like that.
This incident marks number 6 for the year. It comes 1 day after police shot and killed a man in the area of Cedar Way. When asked to respond to concerns from the public in light of recent police-involved shootings, the Assistant Commissioner of Police pointed to recent viral videos of suspects resisting police officers during arrests.
If you would note, there's a number of clippings going around on social media where officers have individuals under arrest for minor offense, and they're actually fighting the police. They're actually fighting the police. So the officers are here to protect, first of all, themselves and the Bahamian citizens. And that's what they're doing.
Reporting for our news, I'm Georgia Bain.
Well, Minister of National Security Marvin Dame says the recent police-involved shootings have not gone unnoticed by the government. When asked whether the public should be concerned about the number of suspects shot and killed by police over the past month, Dame said this.
Should the public be concerned? Well, we hope not. The police are the authority, and we trust that any time the police, the Defense Force officers or anybody else, pull and use a firearm, they're using it for a justifiable means, And so every time an action like that takes place, then that officer must recognize that he or she is accountable for their actions.
There have been 6 police-involved shootings in less than 1 month. While he did not speak to any specific case, Dame said the police force has been following the law by turning matters over to the coroner's court.
The only thing we want to ensure is that when a life is taken or someone is shot, that there's justifiable reason for it. This administration, and I know I speak for the commissioner and his officers, that they're not in the business for covering up for officers who do wrong, and there's no justifiable reason for it.
A decision is expected to be handed down in the highly controversial case involving Bahamas-born John Ronnie John Charles on Friday morning. Jared Higgs was in court today and has the details.
They couldn't come to an agreement on a path to the Court of Appeal. The Attorney General's office wanted John Ronnie John Charles, a Bahamas-born man who the Supreme Court ruled was wrongly deported to Haiti, to forego his right to apply for status pending the appeal process. His attorney, Fred Smith QC, wouldn't concede to that point, and so both sides had to make their arguments to Justice Gregory Hilton as to why a stay of his decision, that included orders that John Charles be granted status upon application, as well as an order for an assessment of damages, should or should not be granted. Representing the Attorney General's office was attorney Lauren Klein, who submitted that John Charles would not suffer prejudice by the granting of the stay, and that as it stands, he is in the same position he was in before this ordeal. He added that the respondents may be forced to grant a status to the applicant that he may not be entitled to. On the point of assessment of damages, Klein argued that John Charles' attorney, Fred Smith QC, has already stated in the press that his client will apply for substantial damages. He says the risk of persons in similar situations using John Charles' case to return to the Bahamas is significant, adding that the opening of the floodgates would have profound national, economic, and social implications. Also noting the 9 grounds of appeal they will be relying on, the AG's lead attorney concluded by stating that a failure to grant a stay would render their appeal null and void. Now, following Klein's submissions, it was John Charles' attorney's turn to make his submissions for why the stay should not be granted. For his part, Fred Smith QC argued that regardless of his client's status, his constitutional rights were violated and that a person cannot reasonably live in a country with no status and no means of providing for himself. He also contended that there is no injustice to the respondents if John Charles is allowed to live and work in the Bahamas. Addressing the issue of assessment of damages, as well as the floodgates argument, Smith says based on other similar cases, his client would be seeking more than $1 million in damages. He added that this case may very well apply to thousands of persons who were unlawfully expelled from the country. Smith says the respondents are seeking to deny those people their legal rights. After both sides had their say, Hilton reserved his decision until Friday at 10 a.m. Outside of court, Attorney General Carl Bethel contemplated the chances that the stay would not be granted.
I don't do speculative law. I deal with every day as it comes. Right now, we have, as we indicated, made our application for the full stay, for which we applied Friday. And we will continue to press on regardless. When the court makes its ruling, we'll see what happens then. I'm not going to guess, but we will be resolved to pursue a clean appeal to the Court of Appeal where these issues will be properly ventilated.
Smith also spoke to the press on his way out of court, where he addressed the $1 million in damages he says his client will seek.
I said that Mr. Gene Roney is entitled to substantial damages. And I said that he would be seeking more than $1 million when we come to the assessment, because Mr. Harvey Tynes, QC, got, I think, $350,000 for 17 hours in jail. And Ms. Tamar Merson got nearly $400,000 for being, I think, 3 days in jail. And Mr. Gene Roney, his case involves being in jail or a detention center for nearly 4 months.
John Ronnie John Charles was detained by immigration authorities during a routine status check last September before being deported to Haiti in November. In January, Justice Gregory Hilton ruled that John Charles's constitutional rights were violated when he was deported without charge. That ruling included an order that John Charles be issued a travel document to return to the Bahamas, as well as he be granted status within 60 days of application. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs issued a travel document for Charles on January 31st before an appeal of the decision was filed by the Attorney General's office on February 2nd. Reporting for our news, I'm Jared Higgs.
Still to come on our news, a Bahamian man's inspiring journey from the NFL to neurosurgery. Stay tuned.